If you're looking for an amazing gateway into metal, doom just might be your ticket. It's a slower genre, so you're not gonna get a headache from all that racket, but it's also one of metal's deepest genres, with all kinds of weird nooks and crannies and wormholes to explore. If someone was trying to get into metal, I'd likely suggest them a couple of doom bands. Hey, here's an idea. Why don't I do that? Why don't I suggest a couple of doom bands? Wait, it's the opening of the show. Why don't I suggest you a couple of doom bands? It's how to get into doom. So what's the history of the genre? Well, the history of doom is almost the history of metal itself. If Black Sabbath is the first metal band, which a lot of people believe, then doom is basically metal's first subgenre. Hey, there's your history lesson. Done. Sweet. But what does doom sound like? Well, doom is all about being low and slow. Unlike death metal lows, though, it's complemented with high vocals soaring above those lows. Ideally, it's spooky, but not scary. It kind of comes out sounding like music you'd play at someone's funeral. So this doom sound, which we now call traditional doom, can be exemplified by a couple of bands. Saint Vitus and Pentagram are great choices, but when I hear doom, I picture a big afro coming towards me. It is, of course, yes, Candlemass, with one of the greatest covers in the history of metal, Epicus, Doomicus, Metallicus. Let's get a taste. But yeah, if you're not a big doom fan, that might have come across a little silly, maybe a little dated. So how do we ease you into the spooky playhouse? Well, a great way to do that is with stoner metal. Unsurprisingly, stoners like slow music. Yeah, so what is stoner metal? Well, it's a genre that takes a lot of stoners' favorite things. Slow, repetitive riffs, psychedelic influences, a whole lot of bass, and mashes it together to create a metal genre that's definitely metal, but without some of the extreme elements that might spook you off. Now, it's hard to know how much of this genre's appeal is due to the genre and how much of it is just due to one band, the enigmatic kings of stoner metal, a band notorious for turning in a 45-minute one-song album to a label and then eventually breaking up for a spell because the label was telling them no. I am, of course, talking about massive metal ambassadors. It's Sleep, it's Dopesmoker. Let's get into it.
Proceeds the Weedian Nazareth.
As you may have realized on this show, people sometimes use metal subgenres interchangeably, even though they are different. Part of this is our fault because metalheads like to obsessively categorize things. We also like to obsessively learn sweep arpeggios and gravity blasts. I wonder if there's a connection there.
What is sweep picking? Sweep picking is hard. The only thing harder is explaining it.
That's all from Blayne. Take it away, Blayne. Regardless, sludge is not stoner. Sludge is a separate, definable genre. How do we define it? Well, sludge is harder than stoner. It's more aggressive. It takes more roots from hardcore than it does from heavy metal. Now, normally here, I would suggest a band that really just crystallizes that sludge sound, but all of my favorite sludge bands like to experiment and wander. They're all progressive in some way. Kylesa, Baroness, but the undoubted kings of venturing out into the void. Sometimes that void gets labeled post-metal, but really, it's just because no one sounds like Neurosis. Even if you're a massive fan, they've got such a deep catalog, you might have missed a great album. So let's listen to one of the great albums right now. It's Neurosis with Enemy of the Sun. Epic doom metal. Boy, I love when metal just slaps epic in front of a genre as a lazy way to define it, because in reality it's not lazy at all. It's perfect. If you hear the words epic doom metal, you can probably guess what it sounds like without ever hearing it. While more modern doom metal bands were moving away from the traditional sound, epic doom metalers were embracing it wholeheartedly. They throw in some power metal wankery and really just go all in on that sound. If sludge was too aggressive and hey, drugs are for losers, man, I got some sweet dice, this might be the genre for you. This can obviously lead to some very cheesy bands, but it can lead to some amazing ones as well, like genre heavyweight Solitude Aeternus. However, if you're looking for a modern portal into the genre, a fantastic one came way of an album released last year by a great band, Crypt. It's called The Runes of Fading Light. Have a listen. So as I've established, the last genre in the show is about pushing fans out of their comfort zone and maybe taking that love a little further. Thus, I bring you to the world of funeral doom. It takes doom and slows it down to an absolutely glacial pace to bring out extreme feelings of despair. It's also a good way to wean yourself onto some more extreme metals, because some of those blood-curdling screams, some of those bone-chilling elements are worked in here. It can come as a surprise because doom is normally a relaxing, calming genre, but that's not the case with funeral doom. The genre heavyweight would be mournful congregation of who you may have already heard. There's of course modern masters, Bell Witch. I've talked about them at length on the channel, but let's really push things to the extreme with a small group that existed for a brief period of time, shrouded in mystery and legend. Copies of this record are so rare, they go for eye-watering prices. Man, I feel like if I put them all together, I'd open the 9th gate to hell. Ooh, it's Wormphlegm's Tomb of the Ancient King. If we're gonna get weird, let's get weird. Thus, I close my spell book for another day, but down in the comments, let me know what got you into doom. What are the spookiest bands? How would you introduce a new fan? And hey, as always, what did I miss? What did I do wrong? Tell me. We can learn together. This has been How to Get Into Doom.